here again for another book review, and that's going to be For A Million Worlds With You by Claudia Gray. I am so happy that I concluded this series, and it's just one of those book series that I've wanted to finish for so long, and I was waiting so long for this book to come out, and I was so excited that it came out a week early in Australia. Except I didn't read it for like a month. I did finally get to this book and it was so good. I loved this book so much and I was just in love with everything. It's my favourite thing ever. Definitely such an amazing story and world, and just the idea of there being different dimensions in our world, like our world and there's a million other worlds. It's just, it's so cool that Claudia Gray wrote this and made this world, and I just love it. Seriously, 1,000 Pieces of You is a book that everyone should read, and then you should just read the whole trilogy because it's all amazing. But anyway guys, before I get into this, I want to say there will be some spoilers in this. Not too many, but don't watch this video if you haven't actually read the book because you will get spoiled for what's like some of this stuff that's going on in here. But anyway, let's get into it. Now, everything was on edge with this book, right? Because in the last book, Margareta got taken over by Wicked, who is like the Margaret of the Tridiverse. Call it a Wicked. She's the bad Margaret. Like, so she came in, took over Margaret's body while she's at home, and I'm freaking out at the end of the last book because I was like, oh shit, no one's gonna know who she is. Wicked's gonna ruin everything and just everything's gonna get ruined. So first chapter of this, I'm reading it and I'm just like, yeah, okay. It's a recap of what's happened, and then it's kind of like one of those things where you're kind of in a moment and then it recaps everything up until that moment again. But then everything's going back to Wicked and Margaret and I'm freaking out, and then they're there and Margaret can't do anything, and then Paul walks in, right, and he's like, you ain't my Margaret. And I was just like, thank you, Paul. You know what, even though Paul broke my heart in the last book, right, because he broke up with Margaret because he was all like, I'm not good enough for you, and because I got splintered, everything's ruined, and I'm just like, damn you, Paul. But like, seriously, I was so excited that he figured it out, and then they got rid of her, and now this big chase started with Margaret following Wicked, and Wicked trying to kill Margaret by hurting different Margarets that she jumps into, because it's a very confusing world, because, you know, you go from Margaret to Margaret to Margaret, and there's a million worlds. Million Worlds With You, yo. There's so many different worlds and ways that this book has like developed them and like had them all interrelating. The different Margarets in different worlds can die, and that's what happened a few times with Wicked, that she did end up killing them and Margaret jumped out at the last minute. But I did find that really sad though, that 2 out of the like 6 or so that they went into did get killed, and it was quite sad. And Paul, you know, here, who's like, Margaret's trying to get him to like realise that she does love him and there's nothing wrong with him, and he's all like, huh. And then every time a new Margaret died, he's just getting worse and everything's just getting worse, and I'm just reading this like I'm dying. But yes, most of this book definitely was a big chase to the finale of having Wicked destroyed, the Tridiverse destroyed, the whole idea of trying to bring Josie back by destroying all these worlds. Everything ended up pretty okay at the end, but like, I really did like this whole like journey of like traveling through the different worlds and then getting off course and going to different places, and then how Margaret went into a universe that was like exploding and everything, and then a different Paul came in. Like, that's what is great about this book, but it does get confusing how all these different characters are just popping in and you're like, whoa, what's going on? Who's that? What's going on? I don't know. But you really have to stay on top of things when you're reading this series, because it can get like hecka confusing sometimes. But I'm definitely happy with where the plot went. Everything I wanted out of the series happened. It's just, I feel like it was kind of not fleshed out enough. Like, I wanted more of like the worlds. Like, I always like seeing the worlds. Like, every book, how they've got like, you know, this world and this world. You always see the 2 here, and then they add in probably another like 3 to 4, but I love seeing the world so much that I want more, and I'd really like it to be more fleshed out. And the way that they like won the war at the end, I feel like kind of was a bit anticlimactic. Like, it was just something like, oh, it's done, we won. Like, there was a lot of different like getting the dimensions to be able to actually talk to each other, and they're all helping and building this resistance against the main Tridiverse that was like ruining everything. But I definitely really enjoyed how it went. It's just, I wanted a bit more. Like, I would have been happy with this book being a bit bigger. It was only just a little bit over 400 pages, so I would have liked a 500-page bookie. 550. That would have given me that extra bit of just niceness of knowing what's going on. I really liked Margaret in this too, though. Like, she has developed so much over the series of like how she acts inside the Margarets, because when she goes to their body, she's overtaking them and she's making decisions for them and doing things inside them that they probably wouldn't really like her to be doing. But I really did enjoy how far she's come, like, because in the first book she was doing things in their bodies, like she did sleep with Paul in the first book and get the Grand Duchess of the Roman verse pregnant, and that was like really sad for that because then Paul died, so she kind of ruined the moment for her, and then she got her pregnant, and then Paul's dead, and then everything's gone wrong. And now she's like really figured out that she won't do things in their body, which is really good. And she also develops as a person with her relationship with Paul and who Paul is as a person, just her friendships and how she sees life. And I really like that. And also I really like that she always sees like the different ways her art's done in the different worlds. Like in her own world she does like a certain type of painting, and then it's a different world, it's only black and whites, and then it's like, I just really liked how it evolves to her emotions and how she could be as a person, because with Margaret, all the different types of person that she could be is what's in these dimensions. Like she could be the wicked if she made different choices in her life, and she could be like this if her decisions were different. It's like you have the capacity to be to these people, and all of them do, as well as Theo, Paul, her parents, they all, Josie even, have the capacity to be like this evil person, or to be the best the person they can, or just be someone who's just in the middle. And I really like that, as well as you're not so different from this evil that you're fighting. Like Wicked is not so different from Margaret. She actually does understand her, and she just sees that Margaret did make a decision not to be like that, but Wicked didn't, and it's just like so much is in the intensity of this series, and I really enjoy that. And I have to say though, Paul made me really sad this book, because Margaret, you know, she's trying, she's telling him, she's like, I don't care that you got splintered, I don't care that you don't think our destinies are entwined anymore. You see all these worlds where we're together, it's meant to be, we love each other, and it's how we're meant to be together. And then he's all like, I can't because I'm just gonna hurt you, and I'm just like, stop ruining my shit, man. Like, I mean, there was moments when he did have trouble and Nellie did kill people, but he brought it back. He pulled himself. He was in control of himself. And I just think, like, there was a moment where Margaret was just like, I have to let him go. And I was just like, you do not have to do that. Please don't do that to me, because I'm gonna die. But I just, Paul was just like such a precious little child in this book, because he was so sad the whole time. And there was moments when he would like go to Margaret and like he'd hold her hand in a moment, or he'd like go to give her a kiss on the cheek, and he'd remove himself from these situations of the way he talked, and he just went on back to his mathematical calculations. And I was just like, please don't do this to me. And you know what, right? So the whole book, he's saying no, Margaret was saying yes for half the book, then she's kind of like, okay. And then finally, right, there's a world that they go to where Margaret and Paul of that world had a child, and Margaret's actually deaf. So she gets there and she's like, holy crap, there's a child here, what the hell? And then she's looking after her child and everything, and then Paul comes in, and then he's like freaking out, because he's like, we had a child and now you're deaf and I can't talk to you. And then, right, so Paul and Margaret, they're there, and then she's writing a message to him, and she's all like, you know what, there's nothing wrong with you, and I will love you no matter what, and all this. And then Paul's just like, and then he just like grabs her and has sex with her right there, and I'm just like, what the hell? You've been killing me this whole book, and it took just this little letter that Margaret writes you to like cave and go and be with her. And also they had sex in these other people's bodies even though they're together, so they kind of thought that was okay. And then there wasn't really much of a relationship after that. I was craving having that more, like having it so that there was a bit more of like, you know, the romantic stuff. Like they finally had a chance to be together, and it was kind of like they did this thing and then everything went to shit, and then it was the end thing, and then they're kind of driving off in the distance, and I'm like, where is my romance? I've been waiting for this relationship to happen for like over a year, and it got ruined, and everything's just killing me, and I was dying so much reading this, and I just wanted everything to be okay, and it wasn't. This is why the book needed to be longer, because I needed more of this romance. I really did. I have to say though, my favourite scene though is when they went to the clone verse, right? So there was about 8 different Margarets, and then they brought in all the different Margarets of like the universes that are like the most important to like the whole story, and it was just the best thing ever. Like they're all there, they're all conversing and talking about things, and they're all arguing with each other, and they're all like, Margaret, you took over my body, and then the Grand Duchess is there, then everyone's there, and it's like the Wicked's there, and I'm just like, this is great. And then Theo was like there too, and he's just like, I don't know what to do, because he has a crush on Margaret. They won't be together, but he still has that like relationship where he's just like, oh my god, there's so many of you here. And then Paul walks in, right, and then Theo's like, yeah, I've had this dream too, and I'm just like, this is the best thing ever. And then Paul's just like, you're this Margareta, you're this Margareta, you're this Margareta, and you're my Margareta. And I'm just like, damn straight, mate, why do you know all this? He is just so good at realizing who his Margaret is, and I just love that. And also there was a really like bittersweet moment when he was talking to the Grand Duchess, and then she was saying that she wasn't sorry about what happened, and she was happy to be able to see her Paul again, even though he wasn't her Paul, but kind of her Paul because he was there. But it's confusing, but I really did enjoy just that they had that moment together. And like she got to have a bit of closure, and I was having my closure because my heart was breaking, and it was just the best thing I think has ever happened in this series. It's just that moment was on point so much. There were so many really on point moments though in this book, when you had like the different worlds and all the different ways people were, and I really enjoyed it, even though there was a few like, I just had a problem with it needing to be more. And it was a bit slow, and I was like, you should have made it a bit more fast-paced with more of the romance and the intensity in there. But I did really enjoy this book. So much character development was happening. So many I just loved it. And also like that cover. Isn't this the most beautiful book you've like ever seen? Like, it's so gorgeous. I love it. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching this book review. I hope you'd enjoy, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.